No, I think your point about diversity is a really good one. And actually, when I think back on everything we talked about today, as we come up on the end here, like I feel like diversity is like a really, if I had to choose one word to kind of encapsulate like your career, it's like you've had such a diverse career in restructuring, then tech banking, then PE, then hedge fund, then corp dev and venture, and then even like when you were at the hedge fund, right? Like you guys had multi-strategy and global, and you were having to learn about all these different things. I just feel like you've, and then even now at ServiceNow, just like what you were talking about just now, you actually have purview over such a broad range of things that's like I don't think really typical for most corp dev teams. And so I have to say, like you probably have like, man, you just you must know so much. Like your skill set must be so well rounded. Like just what you've accumulated over the last, gosh, how long have I been working? Like 15 to 20 years,
Yeah.
something like I've lost count. But like, I guess on that note, like having had such a front row seat to all of these, really sought after career paths, let's call it, like for the college student today, who's one, maybe not really sure what they want to do. Two, they might be feeling overwhelmed by all of these options and they're trying to figure out like what is the right path. Is there something that, and then three, like maybe there's someone out there who wants to have a career similar to yours where they can experience all these different amazing opportunities and have it be as dynamic and multifaceted as your career. Like,
Yeah.
do you have advice on, are there like certain things maybe they should focus on? Maybe not like, necessarily like 20 years from now, but let's say like just in those first few years of their career, like right out of college, are there certain things that they should be thinking about or doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to sound like, generic old man advice, but number one, like just go and learn. Go places where you're going to learn and
Yeah.
where you're going to be pushed and where you're going to be challenged. When we have interns, summer interns, and I interview them, I often tell them like I don't want you to come here and just kind of get a run of the mill experience in corp dev and then go back off to business school or wherever and then decide. I want to know that we've pushed you. My goal by the end of a summer internship is that you come back to me and you say, wow, like I got pushed hard to think differently, to think more critically, to to figure things out in a way I hadn't thought about before. And as a result of that, I have a new appreciation for corp dev. I have a new appreciation for what my skills are. And that might mean that they go back to private equity or banking or buy side or whatever they choose to do next is great. But I hope that we've pushed them. And I hope whatever job you get out of college, go somewhere where you're going to be challenged, pushed, and where you're going to learn. The second thing I would say is like love and obsess what you're working on in the moment. Like I have never not enjoyed a job that I've had. And I've had coworkers who are like, man, I hate banking so much. It's just exhausting. It's too much work. I'm like moving PowerPoint slides, PowerPoint logos around on a slide. Um, I've had people who've really struggled with how stressful the public market
Yeah.
role is. I've had people who, are struggling sometimes with the role of corp dev and the kinds of work we do. I've always embraced and obsessed and kind of loved just this is what we're doing and we need to stay relevant and we need to keep pushing ourselves to have impact. Along the way, no matter what job you have, you're going to do things that you may not enjoy, but that is part of the game. That is part of, you have to take the good with the bad. There's just not going to be a job that you get where you absolutely love every minute of everything you do. And if you
Yeah.
do, you should ask yourself if you're really pushing yourself or challenging yourself to keep going. So that's the second thing I would say. And then maybe third, interview. Go and interview for jobs. Go and challenge yourself. I actually like when I'm looking for a job, I love the interview process. It's
Mm.
stressful and it's challenging and people ask questions that you don't expect and they're testing you on what your background is, what you know, what you don't know. Like ask your friends to interview you even if you're not looking for looking to recruit. Go meet people and every conversation that you have is an interview, every single one. Embrace that, because you will learn a lot about yourself, you will learn a lot about what you're interested in. I talk to my friends even now about what I'm doing and I ask my friends to challenge me on whether I'm continuing to push the envelope
Yeah.
and they ask really tough questions. So I would say, these are all things you could do just day to day without having to try very hard. And those things I think will set you up for being very thoughtful about what you want to do next and what you want to try. And you're going to have to try different things. I've had how many? One, two, three, four, five, six jobs now. And I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. So, it's, again, it all sounds like old man, easy to talk about advice, but there's so much that you can learn from the day to day. You
Yeah.
really need to take advantage of that.
No, and I think also, first of all, it's great advice, but also I think what I always tell people is you don't have to know everything right away. You don't have to
You
know
won't. You
today.
absolutely won't know everything right away. You just
Yeah, you
won't.
don't have to know where you're going to end up 20 years from now. If you're not sure, that's okay. One of the most important things I think you can do is pick something that's going to give you more optionality down the road, right? I think that is one of the things that's really great about investment banking is that it doesn't pigeonhole you into a certain career path. Like, I don't know, like if you start your career as like an account, not to pick on accountants, but like if you start in accounting, you probably stay in accounting, right? Like, but like, you start in banking, you have all these different directions you could go in. And so you don't have to decide right now, and you can gather more information along the way and then make that decision down the road when you feel more informed. And then I think the thing that you said that really resonates with me is like your attitude in terms of how you go about the work that you have to do is like, yes, when you're in banking, you could view what you're doing as just like, oh, this is so stupid. And you see jokes like this online all the time, like on BSO or Reddit, or it's like, oh, I'm just moving some logos around or whatever. It's like, yeah, like you could look at it that way. Or like, you could, like when we were talking about all the things you learned working with Michael Grimes, is like you
Yeah.
could look at it that way,
Yes.
right? And it's the exact same job, but
Yes.
like it's a completely different perspective and mindset. And yours is one full of like gratitude of like, oh my God, like I get to do this versus someone who's just like bitching and moaning and it's like, oh my God, I just have to like move some logos. It's like you're probably going to go down very different paths, even if you start in the same place
Yes.
because your mindset is not right. Right.
Totally.
And so I think that's like just phenomenal advice. And on that note, the last question I always end on is what is one piece of advice, like knowing what you know now, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self? Because I know back when we were in college, maybe I'm sure, we were also full of anxiety. I'm sure you were going through recruiting and you didn't get any offers and whatever, right? And then now 20 years later, you've had all the success that you had, way more now than you did back then. Like hindsight's 2020. What's something you would tell your younger self?
So it's very simple. Have a point of view. Have a point of view. I think, there's no way to know for sure, but I think I could be even further along in my own career if
Mm,
I embraced that earlier and earlier and earlier. When you're looking at a company, would you invest in it or not? What do you think of the leadership? Have a point of view on those things. What do you think of the strategy? What would you do if you were the CEO? We talk about this a lot internally at ServiceNow. In conversations with my boss, he's an incredible mentor for me, and I learn a ton from him every day, every conversation we have. I tell him, I'm like, Phil, I'm going to talk to you now about if I was wearing the CEO hat, here's how I would think about this. Now let me take the CEO hat off and put the CFO hat on. Here's how I think about this. That turns into really rich conversation, and I could have been doing that in banking. I could have been doing that more in private equity, and I didn't get there. To be honest with you, I didn't get there until I got into the public markets and I learned from my PM on what the stakes were if I had a point of view that we could bet on, or if I had a point of view that was misinformed. So no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're looking at, whether you're studying in college, whether you're looking at companies, whether you're in banking, private equity, public markets, corp dev, whatever, have a point of view and challenge and ask yourself, what do I think about this company, about this individual, about this situation, and how would I do it differently if I was the decision maker? Those things are just so valuable as a mindset as you go through your entire career, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, that is so good. And if I could add something to that, I would say have your point of view and be willing to defend it, but also be willing to admit when you're wrong.
Yes, yes.
Because sometimes you are going to be wrong, or
More
like even now,
often than not, like your point of view
yeah,
needs to be formed, and then you need to be willing to change it as you get more information.
yeah, because even as I run my business now, I'm constantly having to make decisions. I'm constantly having to discuss different things with different people on the team, and sometimes people disagree with me, and it's very easy for me in a position of leadership to just say like, well, like it's my way or the highway, or I'm right, you're wrong because I'm the boss or whatever, right? But a lot of times like I don't know everything, and sometimes people tell me stuff that I initially disagree with, and then but I give them the opportunity to convince me, and if they can convince me, then I'm flexible enough to change my point of view. And that has served me really, really well because the best ideas can come from anywhere,
Yes.
sometimes it's not going to come from you.
I think it's so, Mark Twain had said, it's not what you don't know that gets you into trouble, it's what you know that just ain't so, right? Like one of the most powerful things you can do in a conversation with a leader at a company, with an investor, whoever, is they might say, "Hey, what about this?" or "Are you worried about this?" or "What do you think about this?" And the most powerful thing you can say is, "Actually, I thought about that. And let me tell you how I pressure tested, and researched that, or thought about that, or went deeper on that. I had the same instinct initially, and it turned out I was wrong on that. Here's how I got to this deeper second derivative, third derivative conclusion." It is so powerful in those conversations when you demonstrate to someone, "Hey, I thought about that. I had the same instinct you did. It turned out I was wrong." You're not telling them they're wrong. You're saying,
Yeah,
"I went down that rabbit hole on my own because I'm interested, I'm curious, and I turned out I was wrong, and here's what I learned and discovered." And then it's up to them to decide if they want to adopt that same conclusion that you drew. Very powerful. Like, I can't tell you how many times in conversation it's just, again, like, you don't know which 5% is going to matter. Have a point of view and be willing to change it as you get more information. And if you go 2 or 3 layers down that path, you're just going to be so much more thoughtful and useful in conversation than most everyone else. Just have
absolutely.
to embrace that.
Absolutely. That's so good.